You've reached your destination.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. You're listening to There and Back with Shivana and Casidy. Thank you so much for clicking on today's episode. We're really excited because today we have a special guest and amazing author, Mia Sheridan. We just spoke with her and she has a lot to share and she's really sweet. So we're really excited to have her on and we hope you enjoy it too.
I feel like we're giddy schoolgirls because we
Oh my God,
literally,
yes.
like, just to give you guys a little preference, we literally just finished with her. And then we're like, all right, we gotta like record the intro and everything. And like both of us are like giddy. It's like the night before Christmas. Like we're both like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. She is so awesome. I hope you guys love every single second of the episode. She's so cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's get into our pits and peaks.
Okay. You wanna go first?
I would love
Or you want me
to.
to go
My
first?
peak is recording this episode. No, I'll go. The peak was this episode. This was so fun. Not gonna lie to you guys, we're recording like 6 episodes this week. You'll see why in a couple weeks. You'll understand it all in a couple weeks. But this week we're like chickens with our head cut off for the podcast. And we're so grateful that you're all here listening, because that's obviously why we can do these things. But I was definitely a little nervy to do like 6 episodes in 1 week. And like that just put me on such a high. Like this episode, like you're gonna get into in like 5 minits, put me on a high. I'm on a high. Like we're good. We're going.
Yeah. Literally.
So then my pit, I don't really think I have one. Nah, I don't really have one. I have to bring my dog to the vet tomorrow, but like just for his yearly checkup, he's fine. I guess that's a pit, but he's fine. So
Okay.
no pit.
Well, my peak is also the episode, but since you said it, I'll say one more. This was fantastic. But
no, it's okay.
I was just gonna say I got to go to Orlando over the weekend, go to a tailgate at school. So that was really fun. So that's a peak. Hit. I have a lot of editing in my future, which is okay. It's just overwhelming, but it's okay. And yeah, that's it.
Guys, when I tell you we felt so washed up this weekend, we were washed up old people at this tailgate.
Oh my God,
that's
yeah.
Okay,
I guess that's kind of a pit.
That was really my pit. that was indeed my pit. And they're all like, come out to Bounce later, which is like the local UCF bar. I was like, no, I can't hang anymore. I really can't.
No, yeah.
My medium in it, I'm like such on a high that I had a pit and peak and a medium in it, and it's just all just brains empty.
Oh, you're okay. I'll go. You want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah.
All right. My medium minute is a new podcast I found. It's called Manifest with Tori DeSimone. And I'm enjoying it. I've only listened to 2 episodes so far, but I really like it so far.
Yeah, I listened to her stuff a little bit. My medium minute, Iron Flame. We talked about it a little bit. Obviously, I finished it, and finally a couple of my friends have also finished it. So for the book girlies listening, if you've also finished Iron Flame, please message me. I would love to discuss it, because I love Shivana to death, but I doubt she's even broke page 100 yet. So
I know I'm past 100. I'm past 100.
Okay. Fine. Perfect. But yeah, so finally some of my friends, aka like 3, have finished, and finally they're like texting me, because I like have a ton of TikToks I've like saved so that I can send them to people after they finish, which is a little bit embarrassing, but it's fine.
I'm excited to I'll finish it. I'm getting there.
We're getting there.
Well,
all right, friends. And now for a quick moment from our sponsor. Is your family a mimosa on Thanksgiving or a 5K on Thanksgiving family? Either way, our sponsor Waterboy is here to help you fight those nasty holiday hangovers. There's no worse feeling post 5K than your legs being jello and you get a headache because you're dehydrated. And there's no worse feeling than a morning of mimosas gone wrong. Waterboy is a hydration powder formulated to cut your hangover time in half. There are hydration packs on the market, but nothing comes close to those Sunday scaries with Waterboy. There's 0 sugar in every pack and 3 times the electrolytes. They have things that help with nausea and fatigue. We all know hydration alone isn't enough for that holiday bender. And it's not just you. Waterboy's hangover recovery makes a thoughtful stocking stuffer or a fantastic gift for your loved ones. Show them you care for their well-being this holiday season. For this holiday season, our listeners will get 15% off your entire order with our exclusive link at waterboy.com/TBpod. I personally love Waterboy. I started using Waterboy about a year ago, and I actually did use Waterboy post 5K last year in 2022. I sadly will not be doing a run this year, but I know I'll be bringing my Waterboy with me home for everybody to try this Thanksgiving. So I suggest everybody, I'm a green stick gal, I suggest everybody give it a try. And for my friends who maybe like to drink a little too much on a Friday and Saturday night, that blue stick is for you. Most hydration powders are packed so full of sugar that they cause you to crash even harder. Not to mention you have to drink so many to get the electrolyte replenishment that your body really needs to recover. Waterboy has over 9 times the electrolytes as Gatorade. Hundreds of thousands of people already trust Waterboy as their hangover cure. It's time to stop dealing with that anxiety alone. For a limited time, our listeners get an exclusive 15% off discount with our link at waterboy.com/TBpod. That's 15% off at waterboy.com/TBpod. It's time to hydrate this season. All right, friends, and let's get into it.
Well, hi, Mia. We're so excited to have you on today. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being on.
No, if I'm grinning from ear to ear the whole time, like, please, I'm like such a reader. I read a lot. And like, you're probably one of my favorites. So if I'm like just sitting here like a child on Christmas, that's why.
Aw, thank you so much.
I would say the same. Really excited
Yeah,
to have you on.
once we like booked the episode with you, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read a ton more. And then all the little raindrops came on Amazon, like first reads.
Yes.
That book was something. That was amazing. Like, I would have never expected it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if all you've read is, my romance book, that one is quite a departure and definitely my darker side, as you probably discovered.
Yeah, I've personally read Archer's Voice and then Grayson's Vow. So like for me, I was like, whoa, I would have never known you had like that dark side too. I loved it. Don't get me wrong.
Thank you.
It was great. But I was like, oh wow. I texted so many of my friends and I finished. I was like, you need to read this book.
If you want to be really disturbed and not sleep at night, you've got it.
Yeah. That was like my first, like, I don't know if you'd call it dark romance or just like a thriller, but that was like the first one I've ever read that kind of had that darkness to it. Yeah, I've never like, I know there's like Hunting Adeline. I think that's like a series or something. I've never really read those or really dove into that side. So it was my first like dark romance, I guess you would say, but I really liked it. I wasn't disturbed. So
you weren't. Well, I think you either like that genre or you don't, and when you start reading, immediately. Like I think, I'll get like loved it, DNF, could not get past page 3, like kind of thing. Like either you're like, ooh, this is intriguing and I'm here for it, or you're like, can't do it, not even close. There's no like with those kind of books.
Yeah, I think with you personally and a couple other authors, I like think the way you write the main characters and just the characters in general, it's so easy to like feel their emotion. So I almost felt like I was just like in part of the story. So to me, it wasn't, I mean, it was obviously it's pretty deep and pretty scary, but I almost felt like I was along for the ride with them more than like reading it from the outside, like scared. It was more just like, okay, we gotta get out of here. We gotta do it.
Thank you. Yeah. And I try not, I mean, I don't really find it necessary to be real, but like gratuitous. You get the idea, what's happening, but I don't necessarily bring the reader right there and make them experience, I don't find that necessary. So yeah, I do hold back a little bit for now. Who knows? Maybe I'll go all out at some point, but
like I said, I thought it was an awesome book, and that was my first one, and I thought it was awesome. You did a great job.
Thank you so much.
All right, would you like to like introduce yourself to anybody who doesn't know you that's listening?
Quick rundown of me. My name is Mia Sheridan, and I am the author of over 20 novels at this point. I think it's 22, 23, something like that. And I started off writing emotional romance by and large, and I have branched off to romantic suspense and romantic thrillers in recent years. And I am a self-published author, but I also am with 3 publishers as well. So I'm with Forever, Bloom Books, and Amazon Montlake, who Montlake publishes my thrillers. So I'm a hybrid author, and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's awesome. I personally have read Archer's Voice and Travis, and I love them both. I just felt so into that whole world, and I was like, oh, I need to go visit there.
I know. I love Maine. It's so beautiful and, so peaceful and idyllic. And when I started writing that book, I was like, it has to be set there. Like, there's nowhere like it. It's just that small town vibe is so alive and well there. So yeah. And did you forgive Travis?
I did. I think I did. Yeah.
See, I need to read Travis. I need to do it.
I know it's hard. It's difficult. I totally get it. Like, some people are just not ready to forgive him quite yet. And I completely understand that, because I wasn't really either for so long. People would ask me like, when are you going to write Travis's story? And I was always like, why would I write Travis's Like, why would I do that? I hate the guy. But then, over the years, I don't know, his story just started coming to me, and his whole arc started becoming clearer for whatever reason. Maybe it just took some time. And so I sat down and wrote his redemption arc. And I do tell people that if for no other reason, you do get a glimpse of Archer and Bree and their little family in the book. And also, like, we all love Archer and want him to have as much love and family around him as possible, as he was denied that for so long. So hopefully people are rooting for Archer to get that at the very least, that he's going to have more love and brotherly love and more support and all that. So
For sure.
That is one of the points. That's one of the points Shivana used. She was like, Bree and Archer are in a little bit. I think she's trying to get me to like, she was like, come on.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Maybe. Yeah, you got it right.
That was
I'll
cute.
get there.
I like the way it was written, and like how you saw his character really develop in that book, because you get him in the first one and then it's like, oh, okay, I see why he is the way he is,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves a second chance, right? Maybe.
Yes. I will say I'm such a sucker for a second chance. That's why I'm like, why? I don't know what it is about me that I'm like, I don't want to read it, but I love a second chance.
You gotta be ready. You gotta wait until
Yeah.
you are actually ready to go there. So give it all the
For
time.
sure. So what fully made you want to be a writer? Where did this journey start for you?
I actually, never wanted to be a writer. I never had that ambition growing up. And in 2012, I had a tragedy occur. We lost our fifth child, a baby girl named Darcy Rose. And I started writing a blog that was just meant for family and friends to kind of keep them updated on where we were and kind of the grief process. And it helped me a lot to put some of my feelings down in writing. And people kept contacting me and saying, you should write a book. And I wasn't ready to write a book on that topic at that point, but I was reading a lot of romance books. They were really, ministering to my heart and my soul with their happy endings and their, just the peace that they were bringing to me. And so I thought, maybe I could try my hand at that. And so I did. I sat down and I wrote a book, and, it was a safe way to express a lot of my emotions, like at a distance, through this character who was also going through something very difficult and, needed to hang on to the hope that life would not always be that hard. And so I self-published it, and I never expected more than a couple neighbors and my husband to read it, and it's been an unexpected, wild journey from there.
Wow, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So is there a favorite book you have written? Is there like one that stands out to you, like at the end of the night you're like, this is my pride and joy, your favorite child, favorite book?
Well, people ask me that, and I think that like if somebody collected every interview and every time I've ever been asked that question, my answer would probably like be different every single time. So
oh yeah.
I'm not lying when I give my answer,
okay.
but it kind of changes from, I don't know, year to year, or a lot of times too, my favorite book is the book I just wrote or the one I'm currently writing, because I'm closest to those characters. I have the most emotion for them in that moment. But, Archer will always be special to me because he is probably my, most popular book, but also because I didn't expect for him to receive the love that he has received and to be as embraced as he's been by the book community. I was really, really nervous about putting a character like him out in the world. And I just thought, oh, it's going to kill me if he's made fun of or rejected or, whatever. I almost did not want to let him go because I was so protective of him. And so to see the way that readers have really picked up where I left off when I put him out into the world has been just so heartwarming for me and so appreciated. So for this particular moment, I'm going to go with Archer.
I definitely could see that because I feel like it's like you're almost, it's like a comfort show. Like you almost have a different one for every season or like every moment. I could see that.
I get that.
Yeah.
What was the first book that you did write, and what made you keep writing? Because you said you weren't really, it wasn't like something
it wasn't in the plan.
My
It wasn't
dream.
in the plans.
No, it was not in the plans. And like, it's so funny. I think anything amazing and life-changing that has ever happened to me was not in the plans, like, I love that so much because it helps me to, kind of like let go of my own planning and scheming. And, I've always been kind of a control freak in a lot of ways. So when I look back and I'm like, I would have never in a million years thought that would happen or planned for that or even had any idea how that would come about. And so anyway, that's off topic. It's just a great confirmation that, sometimes life, the universe, or, if you believe in a particular God, that, somebody or something out there has better plans for you than you even have for yourself, which is, I think, a really comforting thought. But anyway, the first book that I wrote was called Leo. And, I loved the process of it and I wanted to get better at it. And, I had collected this small handful of readers that were, unbelievably waiting for something else from me. And I was like, I guess I might have something else. Let me give it a go. And so yeah, that's kind of how it all started unrolling.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
No, I totally agree with the whole piece of like, sometimes it's not really written in the plan and it just kind of shows up and it's like kind of the bigger person up there of kind of taking control and taking it over. And it's something you would have never seen coming. And then it ends up being like the best thing that could have happened for sure.
Yeah. And it does help me to step back and say, okay, you know what? Like, let me just see what's meant to be here. Let me just wait. And, you got to show up, of course, you got to write the book or you got to, apply for the job or you got to, make the phone call or whatever it is. But, I think I'm a lot more at peace with outcomes now, even if it's not what I thought I wanted. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what else, life has in store for me.
So let's go more into the writing process. So you've kind of mentioned, I've noticed talking just so far, when you talk about the characters, you say like my Archer, like you talk about them like almost like it's your child. So when you go about making these characters, do you base them off people you know in real life or do you make them up? Like, do you kind of wait for everything to kind of come to you piece by piece? How do you go about making the characters for each story?
It's happened in different ways for me. Ideally, I would love to have a character or a story fully formed, in my mind before I start writing it, because that always helps the flow better. But that's just not always the case. And especially now with deadlines and stuff, sometimes I have to get started even, before the story is fully outlined or the characters are fully formed. And, I had time before when I first started writing and I didn't have editors and I didn't have timelines. I could kind of just like let it happen when it happened. And that's not so much the case anymore. But I think, for example, Archer, he was really, really, I kind of laugh when I say it took him a long time to speak to me, which seems really appropriate. But I had the idea of this character and I had sort of the outline of this story, but the guy would not tell me who he was. I just did not get him at all. And so he was a difficult one to write because, his dialogue I just didn't know who he was. And so I was having a hard time, fully creating him. And finally, toward the end, he started speaking to me and I was like, okay, I got it. And I had to go back and kind of, add and edit a lot of the beginning portions, and other characters have come to me so strongly, like Travis. Once Travis started speaking to me, he was like, he just unrolled like no problem. So I think it's a little bit different every time.
So when you start writing, do you kind of go off of the characters more or more off of like the storyline? And how would you form a storyline from the character? Or
that too has happened both ways, you know, like,
Okay.
yeah, I think that Archer's voice was really based on the character, and then the story unraveled around him. Like, how would this man who had been injured, who didn't speak, end up alone in this little cottage down by a lake? Like, what would have had to transpire to bring him here? And at what point should I begin telling his story, you know? And then other stories, like All the Little Raindrops, this whole situation, you know, came to me, and it really, like, oh, that's pretty creepy. And then I had to find characters to fit that circumstance. Like, who should I put in these cages? So yeah, so it's a little bit different each time.
That's
Awesome.
so interesting.
So
I'm like
do you
so
ever
intrigued.
find
Sorry.
No, I am too. This is so
Just
awesome.
so
Do you
intrigued in
ever
this.
find the emotions from the books affecting like your life? Like when you finish a book, or even like throughout the writing process, is there ever a day that it's just like really heavy on your heart?
Typically, no.
Okay.
And I think that's because, and you know, whenever I'm asked, like, do you cry during your books? Like, oh, your books are so sad, they pull out so much emotion. Do you cry when you write them? And I don't. I mean, I think there may have been 1 or 2 times where I kind of teared up, but I typically don't cry. And I think it's because I'm in control of the story. You know, like, I know exactly where it's going. I know everything's going to be fine, you know, and I even have a couple editors who are like, okay, I think you can be ripping our hearts out a little more here, like dial it up. And I'm like, oh,
All right.
if you think. But yeah, no, I really don't get too emotional about my own books, but I do get emotional about other people's books. So, you know, stories do make me cry, just not my own.
I guess that makes sense. If you like know fully where it's going, it's almost like, all right, this is a sad moment, but I already know where the ending's going, so it's gonna be fine.
You're gonna be fine. You're
You're
gonna
gonna be fine.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fine. The next book of yours I read, I'm like, it's gonna be fine. And that's gonna be the one book that
pick
it's not
yourself
fine
up.
at the end. It's gonna be the
Always
one book
a
I'm
happily
gonna be
ever
like,
after.
oh no.
No, always a happily ever after. I promise.
Okay. No, I mean, so far you haven't let me down.
No, I won't do that. I promise.
So how long does it usually take to write a book, like from start to finish?
It usually takes me about 8 weeks just to write the story, to get the whole story on paper, and then editing, you know, can take anywhere from a month. I've taken a month and edited a book, especially when I was just working on my own and didn't have all the amazing help that I have now. Or sometimes, you know, it can take several months if I'm working with a number of different editors, which I love, because, you know, I always feel so much better about the end product when I know it's been through, you know, so many versions.
Yeah. I've always wondered, because some books can be so long. Is it overwhelming, or do you just like pour it out and you just know what you're writing, so it doesn't feel overwhelming?
It's overwhelming. I'm actually, I'm in the middle of a book right now that I just didn't have, you know, the time to fully outline. I had enough of it, and it's a little bit complicated too. And I have enough of it that I was able to get started and kind of like get the outline going as I'm writing. But I think at this point, it's just like anything else. Like, once you've done it enough, you start to rely on yourself, and you're like, okay, I've done this 22 times. This is hard. I hate that I have to force it like I am right now, but it's going to be fine. It's gonna be fine. Again, you know, my story. I'm trying to tell myself, I'm like my characters. It's all gonna be good.
It's all gonna be fine.
Yeah, but you learn to trust yourself, and, you know, kind of trust the process. Like, this isn't how I would love it to be every time. I don't want to have to put this much effort and, you know, feel like I'm trudging through every step of this process. But some books are like that, and hopefully I'll look back at it and think, wow, that one really like gave me a good swift kick to the butt, but look what it turned into, you know. Or maybe I'll say, wow, that one was really hard and it didn't turn out great, so how about next time I try to like really have a better idea, you know. of the book or the plot or whatever. So I don't know, but I think it'll be fine.
Cool.
So I know you just mentioned you have something coming. What are you willing to share about the upcoming projects, books, moments you have coming forward? If there is anything.
Yeah, I just finished my third Hellion Lake book. I finished Gage's story. If you haven't read Travis, then you might remember Gage from the scene toward the end where Bree dances with she goes to a house for the New Year's Eve party, and she dances with a man there before something else happens, and I won't add spoilers. And I've kind of kept him in the back of my head through since 2014 when I wrote that book, and he made more of an appearance in Travis, and I decided that it was time to give him a story. So I wrote his story. So we'll be visiting Hellion Lake again in April 2024. There's lots more Archer and Bree and Travis in that one too. So that was nice to kind of write a more lighthearted, romance book after my thriller, All the Little Raindrops. It was nice to kind of dive into a world where people weren't murdering each other. Left and right.
No, that's how I felt when I finished the book. I was like, okay, now I need a cute little romance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you need like a balm to
like a buffer. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I totally get it. So that was nice to write that. And now I'm in the middle of my third Montlake book, which is another thriller. And those ones are just, they're a lot more layered. They have to be, because you don't want to know exactly what's going on. You want to be, confused and trying to unravel the mystery as you read along. So there's just a lot, there are a lot more layers to those books. So they are, like you said, they're overwhelming to write. But if all goes well, which I think it will, that one will be out next year.
Nice.
Marking my calendar for the third book.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now I know I have to read Travis by a certain date.
Right. Yes. If you want to be caught up,
I'll make sure of it. I'm good about it. I'll make sure.
Definitely will read it.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips that you'd want to share for someone who wants to get into writing, or maybe they're new to writing?
I always say, the first simplest, most obvious piece of advice is sit down and write. Like, put your butt in the chair and write, because even if your story isn't 100% fleshed out, you have to start somewhere, and you'll never really be fully ready. So just sit down and start putting the beginnings of your story on paper. But beyond that, I would say, try to spend more time in the quiet of your own mind. I think the best ideas have come to me when I'm sort of in that space between, getting out of bed and trying to prolong getting out of bed, where everything is quiet. I'm just in my own mind, and these ideas start coming to me, or going on a walk, or doing something around the house where you don't have a podcast on or music on or whatever. I think that we spend so little time in silence these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes our imaginations suffer for it, and that we all have to be more mindful about just being in the quiet of our own mind if we really want that creative spark to light. The shower is good too. Like I get a lot of my good ideas in the quiet of the shower. So try to spend time in the quiet of your own mind, and you will be surprised at the ideas that seem to come out of nowhere, where you're like, oh, I've got to go get that on paper right now. So yeah, that's my advice.
I totally agree. I feel like every time you do anything, it's like, oh, well, you can scroll on this or listen to that or watch that.
Yeah.
And
Our brains are constantly on other people's stuff. Like it's constantly on, like, this new thing to buy, or this new thing to do, or what this other person is doing or eating or buying or whatever. And rarely do we just let our mind just, kind of unravel whatever thoughts might be free flowing through it. And I think that's that's where the most inspiration often comes from.
I feel like Shivana and I personally joke the most about like stuff for the podcast comes as like shower thoughts, like what you were saying, like when we're kind of just like in the shower or like not really thinking of anything else, scrolling for anything else, like when we're literally just sitting there like washing our hair and we're like, oh my gosh, best podcast idea right here.
Right, exactly. I used to have an author friend. We used to, kind of joke about that too, how the best, I figured out this plot hole when I was in the shower. So we used to refer to it, I don't remember exactly, like the magic shower of creativity or something like that. Like my shower, all you have to do is step inside and all your creative problems are solved. But there's some truth to that, and I think it's more about just like shutting everything out and just letting your mind come up with the solution on its own, because it's there. You just have to listen for it.
Yeah. Next time I shower, I'm gonna be like, sorry, I'm taking my creative shower.
My creative shower.
Stepping into the shower of creativity. Silence.
My boyfriend's gonna come over. I'm gonna be like, silence. I'm gonna be like, don't turn the TV on. I need silence for my magical shower.
Right. Or he's gonna be like, why have you been in the shower for 3 hours? You're like, it's all figured out. Everything's done.
It's like, I don't know if you've seen like the everything shower that they like talk about. Now I'm calling it a magical shower. That's my new thing, is a magical shower.
Yeah. The shave your legs, do everything shower.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nope. Instead, it's a magical shower now.
Yeah. Figure everything out. Magical shower.
Love that. So you had mentioned that you don't normally kind of meet a roadblock, kind of most stories kind of just flow. What do you personally do to get past those mental roadblocks? Do you just sit there and make yourself kind of keep typing? Do you like go on a walk? What do you do?
Yeah, I just don't let me get stuck. I just don't allow it. That's it. I mean, there's lots of days where I don't want to sit down and write. And like, I think I'm looking to get 2,000 words and I have like 30 on the page and, it looks impossible, but I just don't allow myself to have writer's block. I just push through it. And I figure like sometimes the words are terrible and I'm going to have to go back and edit it, but at least I move the story forward enough. And, sometimes those scenes where you're just kind of like having somebody get from one place to another are just really tough to get out, because it's just like, they're so uninspired, but you have to do it. Like you have to move your characters through the story. So yeah, no, I just force myself to keep pushing through.
I kind of like how you said, like, you just keep going, because sometimes I find instead of sitting there, like looking at a piece of blank paper, even just like with my daily tasks, if I just write something down, it inspires me to think of something else that might be on like my to-do list or something that maybe is a little bit better for the podcast, stuff like that. So I totally agree. I will always just like keep kind of typing, writing, waiting for something to come that like finally is kind of just like ignites in my head. And I'm like, all right, this is it. This is good.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, the other thing that I've started to do, I didn't used to do this so much. I used to really like to write in order, and those scenes where I was really looking forward to, they would kind of be my carrot. Like I would, race to get to those scenes I was really excited about writing. But now I don't always have the luxury to do that. So I will write ahead. If I know a scene that needs to be written and I just, can't move forward with what I'm currently on, then I will write a scene that, is coming at some later point in the book. It's not ideal, but, it does get the words out there.
I mean, yeah, any writing is better than nothing. So for sure.
I feel like I'd do that when I had to write essays and stuff. I'd be like, okay, I know I want to say this. I know I want to say that. And then later I'd like copy and paste it all together.
Mush it all together. Yeah. You kind of just mush it all together.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah. And do you like to like write it like pen to paper, or you do it on your computer?
No, I always type it. And I know some authors can do like record, some I can't do that. That just doesn't work for me. I have to see it on the screen. But yeah, no, I have to sit down at the computer, and I like to sit too. I don't, like to recline with my laptop or whatever. I do best when I like sit and have a keyboard in front of me.
Cool. All right. So now we kind of just have like a couple random questions that we were just kind of wanting to know the answer to. So is there anything so far you want to include that we haven't asked? Is there anything you want to talk about?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. We tried to cover it all.
Yeah. You did.
We
guys
tried.
are great.
Thanks. All right. So first bonus question. This one was kind of from Shivana. When you were writing Archer's voice, was Travis also planned? Which I think you kind of answered that. You said it really wasn't, and it kind of just came to you eventually.
Yeah,
All right.
He was not. I never intended to write his story ever. I figured I could make him as hateful as I wanted because I was him in the past. He was gone.
Wow.
So yeah, I might have made him a little bit, more sympathetic if I had thought I was going to write his book. So I'm kind of glad I didn't intend that, because it was more challenging, to like actually like redeem this guy who had made such hateful choices, so yeah, no, I didn't, but I'm glad I took him on.
Yeah, we did Archer's voice as one of the book of the months for the podcast, actually.
Oh,
and I remember I got to the scene in Archer's voice that like really makes you at first kind of be like, what the heck is this man doing for Travis? And I remember texting Shivana and being like, I need you to get here so we can talk about it. I need to talk to somebody about it. So I remember I was furious. And then I think I like fell asleep or I was busy. And I remember looking at my phone, something like 3 or 4 texts. She's like, what was that? I'm like, I know.
Yeah, very manipulative, just very, very manipulative. And the hardest thing, I think, in any story or real life too, is seeing someone kick a person who's already down, what is going on with you that you are willing to be cruel to somebody who's already suffered in such obvious ways. And, I like to think that, not that I like to think, but I believe that those people have been hurt as well. However, it's not enough. It's not enough just to say, well, I was hurt and I'm sad, and that's not enough. No, you really, it was important to me that I not only explained where he had been coming from and why he made those terrible choices, but really drummed home that he understood it, that he got the depth to which he had been wrong, and how hurtful he had been. And then I had to put him in a similar position to when he had made terrible choices before and watch him do something different. Because none of us were going to trust him if we thought, well, if you're hurt again, if you're in the same position, how are we going to trust that you're not going to go right back to that same behavior, that you did the first time? So anyway, I think redemption stories are hard, and I think that it's easy not to do them justice. Did I say that right? Where you don't really feel that fulfilled at the end of them. You feel like, oh, okay, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm kind of nervous of with Travis is I'm like, am I actually gonna, and I don't think it's like on your behalf, obviously, but I think it's more just like, I'm like, am I gonna actually be happy with this guy after? I'm like, or am I still gonna hate his guts?
Yeah, but that's a healthy attitude, because you should expect a lot from somebody who's been rotten to the core at a certain point, and you shouldn't easily want to trust them again. They should have to prove to you that they're, a better version of themselves now, and that they are, legitimately profoundly sorry for what they did.
Yeah,
I love that.
I thought you did
real life
and
in fiction. Yeah, we should all.
Yeah, I was about to say that felt like a moment that we needed for
sure.
real life too.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So when do you decide on a book title? I know a couple of them are just, the names of characters throughout the story, but when do you fully decide on the title?
That's come at different points. I love it if I have one right off the bat, but a lot of times it comes through writing, and, a certain line will jump out at me, or, that's kind of what happened with like All the Little Raindrops. And actually that was my working title. And I loved that Amazon decided to keep it, because I really didn't think they would. I thought it might, I don't know. I didn't know if they would think it worked for it, but it's easy once you name a book to get attached to that title, and you can't pick something else. So yeah, it just depends. I've finished a book before and had no title, and I'm like, what am I going to call this thing? And then I have to really like put my thinking cap on and do something else.
You gotta hop in the shower.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I started stripping down.
I've always wondered that with authors, because like sometimes obviously you'll have that moment while reading a story and you're like, oh, there's the title, and you almost wonder if they purposely placed it, or like I've always wondered if maybe like they placed it there and then they happen to be like, wow, I loved that line and made it the title.
Yeah,
something I've
both.
always really wondered about.
Yeah, I think both. I think people do it both ways, but I love it if I come up with, oh, this could work for a title too, that's great. Or if you're using a poem or a song or something that isn't copyrighted, if you can use it, that's great too.
Yeah.
So fun question. If you were to live in a book, what book would it be?
It could be your own or it could be somebody else's.
Yeah, I don't think I would live in one. I've lived in all my own books already. I'm like squarely immersed. Oh my gosh. Well, that's I think I would have to live in a fantasy book.
I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard because I'm not a huge fantasy reader, but it'd have to be a fantasy book, right? How about, I know a fantasy book I read called The Bird and the Sword by Amy Harmon. If you have not read that,
okay,
I recommend it. It's beautiful.
Okay.
But yeah, if I had to pick another land to live in, it would have to be a fantastical land where I could explore to my heart's desire.
I love that.
Yeah, I haven't read that book, but I've heard a lot of people. It's in like my TBR on Goodreads, so it's moving up the list now that you said that. That's sure.
So good.
It was funny because as I was typing these questions, that was actually my boyfriend that wanted me to ask that question so badly.
Oh,
he was like,
it's
please,
a good question.
Please.
Yeah, no,
He was like, come on.
No, tell him I rarely get questions anymore that I haven't had at least once, and that's one. I don't think anybody's asked that before.
I'll make sure he knows that. He'll probably be ecstatic.
Yeah,
I was like typing this up and I was like, all right, I need some bonus fun questions. And he was like, ask her if she could live in a book, what would it be? And I was like, do you think she wants to answer that? And he's like, yeah, she'll eat it up. And I was like, all right.
I loved it. It's hard though. It's hard. And as soon as I get off here with you, I'm probably going to come up with like 10 other better answers.
That always happens.
But
yeah.
It's a good one.
All right. And then our last one for you. What is your favorite book or series to read? Again, not your own, any author, any storyline.
So the last series that I hate to give books that are not like romance books for other romance readers to go and check out, but I read a lot of series just because I know if I get sucked into them, it's difficult because I don't, have so much time to read them. But honestly, the last series I read was Game of Thrones series, which actually is a good answer for the fictional world. Although I don't know, that was pretty dark in a lot of places. Yeah, I ate those books up. I think I read those several years ago and they're like, each one is like my fingers.
They're like Harry Potter style. Yeah. They're chunky.
Like that thick. Yeah. And if I don't have a lot to do, I love getting stuck in a series that has 4 or 5 really chunky books. I feel like just like this grand adventure is laid out before me for months and months and months. So that's probably the last series I read. I have to give mention though to, you guys are too young for this, but there was a series that I read when I was probably like 14 years old called Flowers in the Attic.
Oh, I've read that.
You have?
I read it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so they have like, I think she has like, I don't know, 10 books in that series.
Yeah, I haven't read all of them. I've only read the first one. Yeah.
Addicted to that. I mean, it's like such shades of gray in that book. You find yourself like rooting for incest and like it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
Like what is happening to me?
For sure.
But
I remember I read it. I think I was about the same age. And I remember I like went into my mom's room and I was like, hey mom, like, could we watch this movie together? Because I knew it was like pretty deep, pretty dark.
Yeah.
And so I was like, can we maybe read it together? And I remember like the scene when, I don't know, skip 15 if you haven't seen it. But when she like cuts, when like the brother has to cut off the hair, I remember I started like sobbing because I remember reading it and it was like very emotional in the book and everything. But I remember like visually seeing it and like, I think because I always read the book before I watch a movie. And so I think I like put all these visuals already together in my head and then seeing it like come to life. I was like, whew. I was like, I was pretty bad.
Yeah, that was an intense series. And I think I was personally probably like too young to be dealing with some of the themes. But wow, I ate that up. So I need, you know what, as soon as I have a few months off, I'm going to go find a series that has at least 3 or 4 books and immerse myself because I have not done that in far too long. And it's so great. I love it. I love it.
It's really fun. It's like it never ends.
You deserve it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you deserve it for sure.
I do deserve it.
Well, thank you so much for being on today. This was seriously so much fun.
Oh, you guys are the sweetest. Thank you for having me.
Wait,
Wait, I have a question for you. What is your Okay.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
It says it's one of those like you have to twist funny. It says, I'm not what I have done, I am what I've overcome.
Oh, I love that. I've
Thank
been
you.
seeing flashes of it. I'm like, I have
Oh
to
yeah.
what that
I
says.
know. I'm in Florida, but we wanted to both put on sweaters, so I'm like kind of
Oh,
sweating.
my gosh.
So I'm like
Oh
pulling up my
no.
sleeves.
Oh my goodness, you guys are so funny.
You
Oh,
gotta be
this
like
has been
disgust.
fun. Thank you guys so much. You're so sweet, and this
No,
was
thank
awesome. And
you.
I'm like, oh my God, the
Yeah.
time is like passed like that, which that's how I
Mhm.
know I had fun. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
If
Thank you for
anybody,
sharing
yeah.
like all that.
Thank you.
where can everybody find you on social media? Where do you have
So I am primarily I'm on Instagram, Mia Sheridan author. And then I have a website, miasheridan.com. And I'm on Facebook. I believe that's Mia Sheridan author as well. Those are pretty much the three places that you can find me these days. So, but yeah, primarily Instagram. I tend to find that the easiest to use, but I try to answer every message that I get. So, it might be a week, but I do try to get back to everybody who sends me a message. So if you
Yeah, I
want
will say I posted like my little October dump of reading, and like the other day you actually messaged me and you were like, thanks so much for reading it, Casidy. And I was like, thanks, Mia. I don't think so it was through my personal account. So I was like, she definitely doesn't realize.
okay, yeah, I didn't connect the two. I didn't.
No,
Yeah.
you're totally
You're
fine, but I thought
okay.
it was so funny. I
Sometimes
was like, oh,
somebody
she
will
answers.
somebody will message me and I missed the one right above it for whatever reason, or it was a story that disappeared or whatever. And so I'm like, should I comment on this post from like 19 weeks ago? It's so weird. I'm like, I have to, like, I hate to even miss messages like that once in a while, but
Yeah.
anyway, yes, eventually, hopefully it won't be 19 weeks, but I will get back to everybody who messages.
No, I love that you're very engaged through social media for sure. Because some people, don't really make that time to really connect with their viewers and listeners, readers, whatever word you want to use. So I really appreciate that you do that for sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody who takes time to message me. So I'm the grateful one.
All right. So we will, everybody, have all of her links she just mentioned down below. If you don't, have to type them in on everything, just go down below into that detail and we can have those in there. And if everybody wants to follow us, we will obviously have all of our stuff linked down below. We also are primarily on Instagram at Thereandback.pod. In December, we have our Podmas coming and we might have a couple giveaways in there. So if anybody wants to join in on that, now is the perfect time to follow us. And with that being said, thanks for listening today. We hope you really enjoyed hearing all about the book process and all about Mia and how awesome she is. And with that being said, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.